Uh,
Hi, guys.
Hi.
That's Casey smoothing down her hair. For my new subs, this is my daughter Casey, and she's my best friend, and she lives across the breezeway from me here at the complex. This is a get to know you tag that I saw Nona Grace do, and I believe Life with Patty did it too. Somebody else did it. Anyway, I wanted to do this. The first question is, what is your name and who named you?
You're asking me? I thought I was doing this to you. My name is Casey, and my mom named me.
I did. I wanted to name her Casey. As soon as I conceived her, I knew this was Casey, and my husband at the time did not like that name. I don't know why. He said, "Name her whatever you want. I'll just call her by her initials or something." So I named her Kara Casey. Casey. Kara with a K, Casey with a C. That's how we got along and why we're no longer married. Anyway, I loved Kara. I really wish that we had always called her Kara. And the reason I love that name is I used to watch I Love Lucy all the time. And I think the producer or director or something, her first name was Kara, but it was with a C. And I just thought Kara was such a pretty name. I wish I'd had 2 daughters. Well, I have 2 daughters. I wish I'd had 3 daughters. Daughters, not dollars. And I would have named one Kara and her Casey, and there we go. My name is Sarah Carol, and my dad insisted my name be Sarah after his mother, and my brother named me Carol after a girlfriend at the time.
I didn't know that.
And I just adored my brother, and so I wanted to be called Carol because he picked that name, and I did not adore my dad. So I was Sarah up until 4th grade, and at 4th grade I told them at school I wanted to be called Carol. I told my teacher. And my sister and her children, my nieces, always have called me Sissy. Okay, siblings. I have one sister 8 years older than me, and I have a brother 16 years older than me, the one that passed away last month. And I never lived with either one of them, really. I don't remember either one of them ever being at home. Casey, do you have siblings?
I have an older sister, and then I have 5 younger brothers. 2 from my mom, and then my dad and stepmom have 3 boys.
3 boys. Were you close to your cousins? No. I did not know any cousins at all. I have cousins, but mostly they were all older than me, except for 2 that were right at my age, but I never met them. Actually, I met them one time at their mother's funeral, but that was just for a few seconds. I never had the chance to hang out with cousins or anything. What about you and your cousins?
I'm close to my cousins. Not real close, but we're pretty close. They're all older than me, but we all
She has
are on
4
Facebook now.
girl cousins, 4, 5, 6, 7 girl cousins,
Wait,
and
6,
1 boy.
7, 8, 9 girl cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Linda's 3.
I thought I counted them.
Okay.
3.
My sister has 3 kids.
6.
Don had 2 kids.
Yeah.
Johnny had 3 kids. Jimmy had 3 kids. So that's 11.
So that's...
Or 12.
I don't know.
We used to live next door to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law that have 3 girls, and they were just a couple of years older than mine, and they played together all the time until Casey was about 6, and we moved away. And then
I was 5.
You were 5? Mm-hmm. And then my sister's daughters didn't live in the same town, but they would come stay with me for a day. They just lived like 25 miles away. They would come spend the day with me and play with my 2 daughters. Okay, special bond with your grandparents. No, my grandparents all passed away before I was born, so I never knew them. And I wanted a grandma so bad. I mean, I remember as a elementary school child hearing about my friend's grandma and wishing I had one too, but I didn't.
I was close to my grandparents.
Did I enjoy high school? No. I enjoyed elementary school a lot, and I loved to learn, but we didn't have middle school. We had junior high that started with 7th grade, and then high school. Junior high and high school were miserable, horrible, torturous times for me, and I did not like either one. Although I did like what I learned, what I studied. I've always liked learning. Did you like high school?
I liked high school until I dropped out.
She didn't drop out. The school called me. Casey has fibromyalgia, among other things, and chronic fatigue syndrome, which her dad also has. And I babied him to death until I was really should not have. And so when Casey came along with the same thing, I was not going to baby her so much that
But she did.
yeah, but I did. But her dad, I used to cut his meat for him because his hands hurt to grip a knife, you know. And I decided, no, I wasn't going to do that with Casey. And so when she was in high school, I never got to be in band. But I always heard about the fun band trips. And I wanted my kids to be in band. And she and her sister played trombone. And I just insisted, even though I knew she had chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and was really having a really difficult time, I just kept saying, no, we've got to push through it. You've got to push through it, until the school called me and had me come to see them and said, look, she just melts in our class. We're going to put her on homebound. And so she went on homebound, and we had a teacher come to the house, which really wasn't that helpful because she had chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and brain fog and was in really bad condition.
And depression at the time. I just didn't know what that was.
And depression. And the teacher would come to our home, but she still had the same schedule as kids at school, and had to turn in papers at the same time as them, and she just didn't have the oomph to keep up with school. That's why they sent her homebound. So that's that story. But she got her GED. Hobbies. When my mind will work, my brain fog is so thick.
I need to hush the dogs up.
Okay. That sometimes I can't read and connect the sentences. And all my life I read. I constantly read. Anytime I wasn't doing something else, I had a book in my hand. I read all my entire life. That was my escape and how I got through my childhood, and just very entertaining to me. And then when I had that terrible, no good, very bad breakdown 10 years ago, my mind just stopped working, and I couldn't read for a long time. I mean, like year and a half probably. Mm-hmm. And then I could read, and then if I have like a flare up of depression, my mind just cuts off. I have read one book this year. I used to read almost, if not a book a day, pretty close to a book a day, all my adult life. But this year I've read one book so far, and the year before I just read maybe 5 or 6, I don't know. But when my mind will connect the sentences where it makes sense, I love to read. But then sometimes I try to read, and like if I read 10 pages and then I have to put the book down and go to the bathroom or something, when I come back, I won't know who are these people and what are they doing. But anyway, my favorite hobby is reading when I can do it. Other than that, I like to play games and cards with my grandkids. We don't do it often enough. And what other hobbies do I have? I just now my
She would
hobbies
like
watching
to
YouTube.
paint stuff.
I used to
and do
paint
crafts.
and do a lot of crafting before that. breakdown. I was a different person, and I craft all the time, and I did art stuff at work, and I painted, and I don't know. Last 10 years have been kind of difficult. What are your hobbies?
Pretty much the same. I read and
You went to that class to make cards, and she's crafty too.
I went. Oh yeah, my friend is an artist, and she did a class where we learned how. It was actually art journaling, but we also learned how to make.
Pardon me.
Just practice, I guess, making cards and making collages
And we both would love to go for long walks when we can do it.
I walk my dog a lot.
What do you do to relieve stress?
I walk my dog.
I get stressed pretty easily, and first of all, I have to have a Dr. Pepper. Sometimes I have to have cookies. I have to be alone. I have to have quiet. I have to I know breathing exercises to do, and I have to kind of concentrate on my breathing, but I have to be alone and quiet and have a Dr. Pepper. What do you do to relieve stress?
Walking my dog really helps. And then I like to have quiet also when I get stressed.
Who is the longest friend you've had? Well, when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I don't remember, we were 8, I met a girl named Debbie. She was new at my school. We remained friends until she died at 56. And then I also have another friend that I've had for a long time. Now, Debbie and I stayed in contact. I have another friend, Marilyn, that I met on the first day of junior high. So I would have been probably 12. I probably would have been 13 that January. And I met her on the first day of junior high, and we were fast friends, just stuck together like glue all through junior high and high school till our senior year. And she got married, and our paths just kind of split for a while. And I didn't hear from her hardly any for decades. And then every now and then I would. But then a couple of years ago, she contacted me, and we just picked up where we left off. She lives in another town, and I don't do phone calls because I can't hear people on the phone very well. So we text, and so it's nice to have her back in my life. You have a friend that you've had for a long time?
No, I really haven't talked to any of my high school friends anymore, though they're on Facebook and we might comment every once in a while, but we're really not friends anymore.
What's your favorite movie?
I don't really have a favorite. It depends on, I don't know.
Well, I hate to keep saying this, but my life before that day that I had to go to the hospital and the life afterwards are just kind of totally different. But when I worked at the library, we had a large audiovisuals department, and I used to bring DVDs home all the time. And I loved to watch movies back then. Now, I just don't. I don't know why, other than at home, I have to read the closed captioning. And so that means I have to sit here and not doing something with my hands, and that's kind of hard for me to do. And I do not want to pay what it costs to go to a movie theater. I just don't have that kind of money to waste. But I could still get DVDs from the library, but I don't know why. It's just different, and then I don't. But back in the day, I used to get the same movies all the time. Anne of Green Gables, but the one that starred Megan Follows as Anne, and Colleen Dewhurst was Marilla, and Richard Farnsworth was Marilla's brother. I don't remember his name. But I loved that movie. I watched it. I probably brought it home 3 or 4 times a month. I love Anne of Green Gables. And I love the book, too. And then I had these other 2 movies that Anthony Hopkins starred in. One was Remains of the Day, and that he was an English butler, and Emma Thompson played the head of housekeeping in this huge home. And they fell in love, but they wouldn't admit it until way late. And anyway, I used to watch Remains of the Day about once a week. And another movie that Anthony Hopkins is in was Shadowlands, which is the true story of C.S. Lewis when he met his wife, Joy. And Anthony Hopkins was C.S. Lewis, and Deborah Winger was Joy, and I really loved that movie. Obviously, I discovered when I wrote these things down, I tend to like romantic comedies or romantic. Some of these aren't comedies, but anyway. And Out of Africa, Robert Redford, who I had a crush on from the first time I ever saw Robert Redford in a movie. Robert Redford and Meryl Streep were in a movie called Out of Africa, and I watched that over and over and over and over again. It was a love story too. And then one of my all-time favorite ones, Meryl Streep was played the main character, and I can't even think of her name. And Clint Eastwood played the man, and I can't think of his name, but the book was Bridges of Madison County. I loved the book and I loved the movie, and I used to watch that a lot. And then Runaway Bride. How many times did we see that?
We watched that a lot.
A lot. I loved Runaway Bride. And then I really liked musicals. Music Man I brought home a lot. Mm-hmm. And Oklahoma.
And we went and saw the play Oklahoma. It was really fun.
I really liked seeing that. And we went to see, this was at the college here. We went to see Oklahoma, and we went to see, I don't know if you went with me or I just went, but Sister Act. Oh,
I loved Sister Act.
Hey, me too.
That was fun.
Fiddler on the Roof. And then I liked Proposal with Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds. And Betty White played the grandma. I loved that movie. Do you have any other movies other than those that you really like?
Yes.
Oh, I thought of another
one.
Go
What is
ahead.
it called? I forgot. The Family.
Family Stone.
Instant Family. Oh, Family Stone too. But I like Instant Family because that's what I wanted my life to be like, because they redo houses and
Flip houses.
They flip houses and they adopted siblings. That's what I'd like to
Casey.
do. They foster and then adopted them.
Casey would love to adopt. Another movie that we watch every year at least once, if not half a dozen times, is The Family Stone. And it's kind of a drama, kind of a romantic comedy. Takes place at Thanksgiving. I just really like it. And then this one is not a romantic comedy. I thought it was called Double Indemnity, but I looked it up and it was called Double Jeopardy. Ashley Judd plays the main character. I
didn't know you liked that movie.
I don't know why, but I did, because that's not the type of movie I would normally like. But I do remember really liking that.
It was good.
Okay. Favorite book. Okay. Anne of Green Gables. Sarah Plain and Tall. Oh, Sarah Plain and Tall is another movie I used to bring home all the time. But I grew up in New Mexico, and this series is by Dorothy Pillsbury. I think she had 4. I only own one of them. Star over Adobe. She had roots in Adobe. I don't know. All the books have Adobe in the title, but they're about life in New Mexico. I don't remember, World War I or World War II. It takes place in Santa Fe. I've always wanted to live in Santa Fe. I don't know when it took place, but a long time ago. And I just love this because it's like home. I grew up mostly with Hispanic people, and this book is about Native Americans, Hispanic people, and Anglos, and how they all got along. I love this. If no library's going to have these anymore, but if you ever have a chance, maybe they do, if you ever have a chance to read this book, this series, I really like it. And then this book, I buy very few books. I bought this one at a garage sale for 50 cents, and it's the Friday Night Knitting Club, and it's a group of women who get together on Friday nights and knit and discuss their lives. They're just best friends. On the cover it says, like, Steel Magnolias set in Manhattan. Steel Magnolias.
Oh, that's our favorite movie.
Yes, I used to bring it home all the time.
That was the first movie I ever cried to.
And there was another movie.
Princess Bride was one of my favorites.
Princess Bride. Oh my gosh, we watched it every week too. We'll think of more. Anyway, then I bought Casey this whole series, Lynn Hinton, I love her. Friendship Cake. And Casey wants to do this with her friends right now. She just told me.
No, that was the bread one.
Oh, that was the bread one. Okay. Anyway, this is
That's
the
the
first
first one.
of the Hope Springs trilogy. I love Lynn Hinton. She has quite a few books. But anyway, I really like this book. If I bought it for somebody, I really liked it. And not this past Christmas, but Christmas before, I bought all my kids except my one son this book by Louise Miller. She's a new author. She's actually a pastry chef in real life. But I think this is one of the very best books I have ever read, really and truly. The City Baker's Guide to Country Living. She lives in a city, Boston, I think, but I'm not real sure. I don't remember things. My memory is crazy. She lives in some big city, and she burns down the venue where she made baked Alaska and dropped it and caught everything on fire. And so that career was over, and she goes to a little place in Vermont where her friend lives. And anyway, this is a romantic comedy. Yeah. And I really loved this one. And I bought it for my kids. But the second book in the series is, what did you decide it was called?
Oh man, I just told you
Late
what it was.
Bloomers?
Yes, the Late Bloomers Club.
Late Bloomers Club. It was even better than this one. So, Louise Miller. As far as I know, she only has those two books.
I think she has a third one coming out.
Oh, well, then we got to get it.
Or already came out, but the library didn't have it yet, so we haven't read it yet.
Well, let's keep on top of that. Favorite thing to do on a stormy day? It very seldom storms here.
Although it's supposed to in a couple of days.
We don't get much rain at all where we live. We live on the high plains of Texas, and it's almost
Dry.
like desert. It's dry. But if it's stormy, I love to watch the lightning. I love to hear thunder, and I love to watch it rain. And I love the smell of rain. And if it's not lightning a whole lot, I go out on my balcony and sit in my swing in the rain. It's a covered balcony. What do you do? What do you
The
like?
same. I like thunderstorms. As long as it's not big hail. Sometimes we get a lot of hail. And tornadoes.
If we get tornadoes and big hail, like baseball-sized hail, every year, beats roofs to pieces. What's your favorite thing to do when the weather is perfect? Mine is sit out on the balcony in the sun, which I did today. It got up to 75. There was just a little wind, which is unusual here where the wind blows crazy. But it was just perfect, and I sat out there for a long time. What do you like to do when the
I
weather's
like to walk my dog or take him to the dog park. And I'm really excited for Paladar Canyon to open back up. And so I can go. I'm not a big on hiking, but I've just really been excited to go hiking.
We're going to go to Paladar Canyon. It's 15 miles from our apartment and film down there so you can see it. It's absolutely beautiful. You go from 15 miles of absolute flat nothing, and then here's this huge canyon. Second only to Grand Canyon. Do you prefer to live in a big city or a small town?
I don't know. I've never lived in a big city before, but I'm pretty sure a small town. I'd rather live in a small town than a big city.
I would rather live in a small town. I would love to. The town we live in is about 200,000 people, but I've lived in much smaller places. And I've lived in Albuquerque, which I don't know what their population is, but a lot. And we lived in El Paso. I did not like living there. But anyway, if it weren't that, because my grandkids are here, I would love to live in either Santa Fe or mostly Durango, Colorado. Both are too expensive for me to even think about living in. But I love Durango, Colorado. I think that's where I belong, is in Durango. We took a vacation there after St. Louis. Another year we went to went to see something in Utah, and we stayed at a bed and breakfast. Now, my boys were probably 12 and 13, or 13 and 14.
They seemed a lot younger.
They did seem younger. Maybe they were 11 and 12. I don't know. And this was a little bitty town. I mean, a little bitty wide spot in the road, and there was no hotels or motels. So we stayed at a bed and breakfast. I'd never been to a bed and breakfast. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. It was a huge, big old house. And my two girls got the bridal suite, and my two sons got this room that was the decor in these places in these rooms was wonderful. Their room was like Old West, and I don't even know what my room was like. We had 3 rooms. There was only 4, but anyway, that was really cool to stay at that bed and breakfast. And my younger son, oh, they must have been 10 and 11 or 11 and 12. It was the first time he ever had bran muffins. Any of us, I guess. And they had bran muffins. Oh, and there was a lovely lady that owned this place. And he kept asking for more and more and more. And she finally went and printed off her recipe and gave to us so I could make him bran muffins when I got home. We called him BM the rest of the trip for bran muffin, not BM. And from there, we went to Durango and we rode the train. Oh, if there's one thing I could do before I die, I would love for my whole family to go back to Durango and rent a big cabin and play cards and games and drink Dr. Pepper and eat Mexican food and ride the train again. It's an old steam engine that goes from Durango up to this little bitty town. I think it has like population of like 600 or so in the summer. In the winter, not so much. It's called Silverton, and it's way up in the mountains, and it used to be a mining town. But anyway, the train goes from Durango to Silverton and back. And I loved that train. Did you love that train? Mm-hmm. We rode the bus back. There was an option. You could ride the train back, which, I don't know, it took like 3-4 hours.
Remember.
A long time because the train goes really slow.
But you get to see trees, and here everything's flat. We don't have big, pretty trees everywhere. So.
We don't have trees. We don't have mountains. We don't have... There was a river or a stream or something along next to it. That I just loved it. I wanted to ride the train back, but my two sons were bored, and they didn't want to ride the train back, so we took the bus. They had like a big Greyhound bus type thing. And that was actually a good deal because we had the most fun lady who got on the microphone and told us stories about all along from Silverton to Durango. And that was really, I like history and stuff, and that was really interesting to me. Do you remember her?
I don't really remember the bus that much.
The one I asked my son the other day, I was going to tell him I'm going to do a video about our vacation to Durango. And my youngest son, he remembers 2 things. We had rented a minivan again to go in. And we got to the hotel where we stayed in Durango, and we got out, and my youngest son was really freaked out, honestly, freaked out. He said, "Mom, that flag is not moving." He's so used to being here where it's wind blows like crazy all the time. And they had no wind there. There was no wind. That freaked him out, that no wind. And I had bought, I'm a paranoid mom. I was always afraid because I was so outnumbered, me and 4 kids. I was always afraid of losing somebody or somebody being kidnapped. And so I had bought everybody matching t-shirts. So every day we were supposed to dress alike. So I could say, "I've lost a child and she has on this shirt." I could say, "It looks just like this shirt." And my youngest son forgot to bring his, on the day we rode the train. He had on something else. And there was a couple sitting across the aisle from us. And it was like, I don't know if there was 3 people in a row or 2 people in a row. But anyway, we took up a couple of rows right together. And this gentleman, it was obvious that we were all together. And he said to my youngest son, "What's the matter? Didn't she buy you a shirt?" I just remember that.
I do remember that now. Didn't remember that before.
Anyway, I would love to live in Durango. Durango's not a very big place, but it's in the mountains and it's beautiful there. And it's a little town. As long as I have a Walmart and a good library, I would be happy. First thing you want to do when this virus is over?
Go to friends' houses and go to church.
I want to go to Dollar Tree. I don't leave my apartment very much. I'm a homebody, and so this hasn't really affected me very much, except I would like to go to the Dollar Tree. And if I ever get the sewing machine that my friend told me she would give to me, I want to make
Or
masks.
fixes mine.
Or fixes. She has my mother's sewing machine, and it just needs a little work done on it. But my sister and I did not have a happy childhood, and I never could do anything right. And I told my sister today, my sister told me today, why don't you get Grandma's sewing machine from Casey and use that to make masks? And I told her, I haven't even looked at it because it gives me stress and a panic attack because I never, no matter what I did, I could not do it right on that
She's
sewing
also
machine.
left-handed. It was hard for Grandma to teach
My
any
mother
of the
couldn't teach me
left-handers
anything.
anything.
But I never could do anything right. And I just don't want to see her sewing machine. So, but I might. But anyway, I've been looking online. You can't from anywhere get 1/4-inch elastic to make the loops over the ears anywhere. So I don't know how I would make masks anyway. I would like the strings, but I think most people prefer just to loop them around their ears. But anyway. So when this is over, I'd like to go to Dollar Tree and in Walmart and see if they have any elastic. I have big goals. That's the end of those 14 questions. And then when y'all were sending me questions, Life with Patty asked me if I like to cook. Well, I love to eat. I love food. Sometimes I like to cook and sometimes I don't. Since that day when my life was different, it's hard for me to follow recipes. I used to like to cook, but now it's a chore. I'm always putting something wrong in.
Not always, but sometimes she does. But not all the time. She
Too
cooks
often.
really good meals a lot.
So I do like to cook sometimes. And somebody asked me when my birthday was. It's January 30th, and my sign is Aquarius. And let me see if I can find those questions.
It's been half an hour. How long are your videos usually?
My videos are usually, I like them to be 10 minutes or less. So I'm sorry that this has been 32 minutes. Goodbye. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.